Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Health and Human Services and Aging Committee, Wednesday, July 26th, and it's currently 1:02. Can we, Madam Clerk, have a roll call, please?
As a reminder to all in attendance, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the county's YouTube page. Calling the roll, Ms. Conwell.
Present.
Mr. Sweeney.
Present.
Ms. Stevens.
Present.
Ms. Turner. Ms. Turner is absent at the moment. Mr. Miller.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Anyone signed in for public comment, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have one person signed in. Lou.
Welcome, Ms. Lou.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I'm here to support the resolutions we have today on the agendas. However, we have to look at the other side of it. It's good that we finally found the funding to support LMM to keep running the vital service for the guys in the community, because we have so many people could be at risk to be homeless at any time. It's good to have these resources, but if we look at the other side, we have been also limited by these resources. We cannot actually break it through. We cannot actually to ensure that people can thrive from this point. Everything is about maintaining the current situation, status quo. And I hope in the years coming, with all the budget hearings we will go through later this year, and also the upcoming HHS levy funds, I hope we can find some ways to start actually thrive, not just to maintain the current situation, because this has been created a vicious cycle. Nobody can actually be out of homelessness or out of poverty for long. People always fall back in. Even right now, we have lots of people still coming in the shelter for their very first time. Even they already escaped the recession, but with the COVID-19, all these after effect, people are still struggling. So I hope in the future, we can find other ways to utilize our funding better. Instead of building a new county jails, how about building a better housing for everybody? So the people at risk, at least they would not be at risk anymore. Then we can start resolving all other issues with the existing population. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, that completes our section for public comment. We have approval of the minutes from the July 12th. Can I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved by Sweeney, seconded by Miller. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. We have several items referred to the committee today. Madam Clerk, if you could read the first item into the record.
And I'd like the record to reflect that Ms. Turner is in attendance.
All right.
Resolution 2023-0218, authorizing an amendment to a master contract with various providers for emergency assistance services for the period September 1st, 2021 through August 31st, 2023, to extend the time period to August 31st, 2024, and for additional funds in the total amount not to exceed $1,575,000.
Thank you. Just first question, welcome, David. First question I'd like to ask, probably for all of the contracts, are payments up to date?
Right, I will first, David Merriman, Department of Health and Human Services. In a minute, I'm going to be calling up Marcos Cortez. I'll let him answer the question on the payment status for these contracts. Before I do that, I want to first acknowledge that this contract is it's not only on time, it's early. And this contract does not start until August 31st. And I just need to point out the work of Marcos and his team. They've really taken to task the effort to ensure that contracts are coming in early and on time, and that we're in a position to have an executed contract to ensure that we have payments that can be processed. So acknowledgement to Marcos and his team and their efforts to continually improve their timeliness. Want to also acknowledge that Jackie Fletcher was unavailable today. She was called into something, and kind of at the last moment, she asked Lisa Paterka to come today. So I'm going to invite Lisa up just to introduce herself. Lisa's here to provide additional detail to Marcos if Marcos needs it. But I think Jackie and I have also talked about trying to bring more of our staff to these hearings, trying to ensure that our staff are familiar with the process, can build relationships with the council, and can become exposed to the what it means to have a contract move through the process. So I'll ask Lisa just to come up and to introduce herself.
Good afternoon. My name is Lisa Paterka, as David said, and I am one of the senior managers at the Division of Children and Family Services, and I've been a county employee for 30 years.
Bless you.
So,
Don't retire, we need you.
Well, and we're always grateful to have our staff make career commitments to us. And I also want to thank Lisa for sticking around and being with us. So I'm going to turn it over to Marcos, and I will ask him to address the question you've brought up about our payments on time.
Good afternoon. Marcos Cortez with Health and Human Services on behalf of the Division of Children and Family Services. My understanding is all payments are on time. The reason that we had to get this one to make sure that this one got in on time was to make sure that payments could continue to be on time. If we had missed it, obviously we would have been behind because of the recess coming up, and then getting this contract back onto the agenda, onto the calendar would have taken probably another month and a half. So I'm not 100% sure, but my understanding is that they are, but I will verify it, and I'll let council staff know to relay that information.
Right, just want to share that we go on break every August, so just for the future knowledge. I know that was kind of Public Works and Public Works Committee today. They kind of said the same thing.
No, we were aware that you were going on. That's why we made sure that we got this in on time. But again, this is a contract amendment for emergency services contract. This provides basic services for families with DCFS at risk of becoming involved with DCFS or are struggling to provide for their family's basic needs. It provides assistance such as clothing, food, furniture, basic appliances to families to be diverted from further involvement. This is the second of 2 option years that we have, so we'll have to RFP this next year.
Any changes in the contract whatsoever?
No, the dollar amount is the same as it has been.
Any verbiage change, anything
No,
like that?
no.
And in terms of these, I know I see these all the time because they're pretty much the same vendors. Have we sent them out to bid, or, or that won't happen until the RFP?
That won't happen until the RFP. And I do believe there's an exhaustive list that we send these out to.
Because I remember these names. They always kind of stick to my...
Yeah, these are the ones that were on the original contract.
Now, this is just for DCFS. Would we utilize any of these services for like the emergency that we had in East Cleveland with the fire victims? Could some of this ever be utilized?
If they
for that?
are at risk for becoming involved with DCFS because of the fire, potentially, but I don't know if it was
But
related.
it has to be coming to DC, okay,
Right.
gotcha. All right, I'm gonna open it up to my colleagues. Any questions? Self-explanatory, all right, anything else you'd like to share? Anyone from your office? All right, so this will be on time. What is your ask?
On second reading and suspension, it would be on time, yes.
Better when we have 3 full readings, but we'll try. We're still coming back from COVID, so we're okay. All right, anyone like to make a motion to move this forward?
Second.
All right, second reading suspension. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, if you could read the next item into the record, please.
Resolution 2023-0219, authorizing an amendment with various providers for permanent supportive housing services to chronically homeless single adults and high-barrier homeless persons for the period July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2023, to extend the time period to June 30th, 2024, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $2 million.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, Council.
Good afternoon.
Melissa Serac, Director of the Office of Homeless Services, requesting this approval of a second amendment to a master contract for permanent supportive housing. Permanent supportive housing serves chronically homeless single adults and high-barrier homeless persons as part of the Housing First initiative, which was established in 2004 with the goal of ending chronic homelessness in the county. Services include rent-subsidized permanent housing, medical care, mental health, recovery, and employment services to help individuals integrate back into their community. With me today, I have representation from various providers, including Eden, Famicos Foundation, Front Steps, Mental Health Services for Homeless Persons, DBA Frontline Service, Humility of Mary, and the YWCA. I'd ask them to join me now, and happy to answer any additional questions that you have.
All right. Currently, all payments are on time to all providers.
To my knowledge, we're currently working through a transition with our fiscal budget manager. We have someone retiring. To my knowledge, I believe we are up to date on our end in paying invoices. We are still assessing if providers are up to date in submitting monthly invoices to us.
Good afternoon, Elaine Gimmel, Executive Director of Eden. I will confirm that the county, when we send in invoices, pays us timely. And I do want to say that we appreciate that this is going before council in July, even though the contract started in July. It was very delayed last year. And I think the Office of Homeless Services and County Council and everybody has heard kind of the agency's concerns about getting the contracts processed and reimbursed timely. So we are very appreciative of that.
Anyone else coming up this year? They can all, you came down here, you drove, you're more than
Introduce
welcome
yourselves.
to, please.
Introduce yourselves and your agency.
Right. New faces I see.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Rochella Tillman, and I'm the Director of Property Management and Maintenance with Eden. Your support will help my staff continue the good works that they do to maintain the housing for our residents.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Council. Cynthia Daly with the YWCA of Greater Cleveland. I'm the VP of Compliance, Evaluations, and Outcomes. And so the funding from the GAP funding supports our Independence Place and Cogswell Hall PSH programs. It helps to support ongoing services at both locations for us.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Mitch Wasserman. I am the grant writer for Front Steps Housing and Services and have been for the past 15 years. Seen a lot of transformation, both in the organization and in the area of homelessness, and a number of advancements. The Office of Homeless Services has been a wonderful partner to us, and we appreciate all that Melissa and her staff do on our behalf. The reason for our request was to support case management, peer support, security, which is critical, of course, and then also front desk work for, and that front desk does a lot more than just take people. They're working with the clients 24/7. So I want to thank you, and that's it.
So I'm Jennifer Harrison with Frontline Service. My position there is the Director of Behavioral Health, overseeing the housing and employment services, specifically in the permanent supportive housing buildings. This GAP funding goes to support the individuals that we serve at Harper's Point, which is a 71-unit permanent supportive housing building located on West 25th. I thank you for your continued funding for this truly life-saving work.
Thank you. Just want to thank you guys. You're doing it every day. We really appreciate it. And so anytime that you come to this committee, we do want to hear from you. We don't want you to sit in the back, come down for, hoping to be asked. We not only us here in the council chambers, but those that watch us, just to know who the community partners are. It's truly, my hats go off to you every day for the work that you've done. I've done that in my one of my lifetimes, so I do know the work, and we appreciate the continuance that you do. I don't know if there's any questions that my colleagues
Madam Chair, I
have.
would like
Yes.
to echo your comments. Part of the housing conundrum in this country is that people who one day had a home could, through no fault of their own, because a landlord didn't pay their taxes on time or their mortgage on time, or passed away and didn't leave a clear plan, executive plan or guidance for the ownership of the property, and they can end up homeless. They stay with family and friends and exhaust their time with family and friends, and they need the network, the safety net that y'all create. So thank you on behalf of all of us for doing what is incredibly hard work. It's more difficult than the regular rental or the regular home ownership steps that we take. And we are appreciative of what you do for us. And that's one of the reasons why the chair has been so concerned with making sure you get your payments on time. Because we know that stretching your budget and using your lines of credit on things you hoped we would pay on time is incredibly difficult. So don't hesitate to call us or tell us when we as a county are not getting you your payment on time, especially if you've done your paperwork correctly. Then it's important for us to know so that we can be your advocates as well. Thank you.
All right, and I'd just like to thank the councilwoman, not only for stating that, but she leads the discussion for home ownership for all in her community reinvestment. So she is an advocate as well, pushing on the other ends, because we know our focus, as well as our county exec, recently has stated Cuyahoga County's focus is housing initiative. So we know that there's so many areas that needs to be expanded. And so we're working as a team along with you guys to try and get these things done. So hopefully you'll take that back to the shelter, Ms. Lou, that we are constantly working on these issues. So without further ado, thank you all for coming down. Can I have a motion to move this along?
Second?
Okay, moved by Stevens, seconded by Turner. I know, I
ma'am.
just had to say, all in favor,
Listen,
please
hold
say
on.
aye.
I have one more question.
All
before
right,
we
sorry,
go, if I could.
Councilman, go right ahead.
Okay.
But it's,
My question to any of the presenters is to what extent do the permanent supporting housing residents pay for part of the cost of their housing, or is it entirely publicly supported?
To the chair, to Councilman Miller, if a tenant has income, they pay approximately 30% of their adjusted income, and that includes towards the rent and utilities. Coming in, I believe we have about almost 60% of the residents with zero income, but that's what the support services on site are for, is to connect the individuals with any cash benefits, as well as medical or non-cash benefits that they qualify for. I would say that probably about 80% of the residents have some type of income. The majority of that would be SSI, Social Security, Disability, VA pension. A very small percentage of our tenants, and we have 738 units. I'd say a small percentage are employed at this time, maybe 5%, maybe 5 to 10%. But I would say probably close to 80% have income and are paying something toward their rent and utilities. We include utilities in the rent, and that includes electric, gas, water, sewer. We do provide a phone in every unit, so even if somebody has no income, that phone then at least can call the front desk if there's an emergency, as well as 911.
Thank you.
And can I just add one more thing? In addition to the 738 units that we have, we are working with the homeless system. We have a building under construction right now for young adults, and that's 50 units. That will be 12 families, as well as the remainder will be single individuals between the ages of 18 and 24 that are homeless. And then we were lucky enough to be granted tax credits in May, and this will be for a senior building specifically. There will be 25 units for veterans and 37 for homeless older adults, because we are seeing that there are more elderly coming into the homeless system. So we are trying to respond to the needs that we're seeing within the community. Thank you.
And I wonder, is there a correlation between the youth that are coming in that you're now seeing that are aged out from foster care? Just saying. So this motion was moved by Stevens and seconded by Turner. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Through the chair, may I add my name?
Yes, ma'am. Please add Councilwoman Turner.
Resolution 2023-0220, authorizing an amendment to a contract with Lutheran Metropolitan Ministry for operations and case management services for a 400-bed men's emergency shelter located at 2100 Lakeside Avenue, Cleveland, and for facilitation and coordination of overflow shelter services for single adults and families at various locations for the period January 1st, 2023 through August 19th, 2023, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2023, and for additional funds in the total amount not to exceed $1,575,000.
Before we start, I might have made a mistake. I don't remember hearing on the last item if it was needed second reading suspension. I know I didn't say those words, so.
I'd like to respectfully request if possible.
Okay, so Madam Clerk, do we need to just add that or revote?
I amend.
Okay.
Thank you.
Turner, you amend as well?
Second.
Okay. All right, so we're amending for this to R2023-0219 for second reading suspension. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, sorry about that. I didn't remember saying the word suspension, so.
No worries. Good afternoon again. Melissa Surak, Director of the Office of Homeless Services, requesting this amendment with Lutheran Metropolitan Ministry. LMM has operated the men's emergency shelter at 2100 Lakeside since 2005. As the largest shelter in the state, the facility has the capacity to serve 365 persons per night and is a vital component to Cuyahoga County's continuum response to single adults experiencing homelessness. Additionally, LMM operates the family overflow shelter at the Haven Home with capacity to serve 16 families. This amendment also includes an additional $350,000 to coordinate and operate additional efforts to address the increase in families experiencing homelessness our continuum has seen this year. OHS has a strong partnership with LMM to ensure the community safety net is provided and that every person who needs a bed has access. Last year, LMM served over 2,600 men at 2100 Lakeside and over 700 individuals at the Haven Home. LMM worked closely with the county and other partners to mitigate the impact of COVID-19 on our community and service populations, all while continuing to provide core service provisions, including food, shelter, housing and employment placements, security of benefits, and mental health linkage. During the last several years, COVID mitigation was costly, and operational costs of providing core shelter services only increased. The increase in operational costs were paid from a variety of sources, including CARES, state, county, city of Cleveland, foundations, and private donors. Those resources are no longer available, and LMM has returned to its previous level of services with increased costs and constant funding since 2017. LMM works diligently to ensure shelter operations are efficient, cost-effective, and they have worked to secure multiple funding sources to support the work. The current county contract ends August 19th, and this amendment is needed to continue services through 2023 with no lapse in provision of shelter. With me today, I have Maria Fosha as well as Mike Searing from LMM. Happy to answer any additional questions you might have on this necessary service.
All right, Director, I would ask, up to date on invoices and everything?
On our behalf, yes, I believe we've paid all the invoices submitted by LMM.
All right.
Again, assessing for the monthly, if they're up to date monthly.
All right, welcome guests. Please state your name and what you do.
Madam Chair, Council, Maria Fosha, President and CEO for Lutheran Metropolitan Ministry. Yes, we are from our end as well, up to date on those payments, and I really want to just express my appreciation for consideration of this proposal by the council and also the partnership with both David and Melissa to work through the details of this that hopefully you're aware of or we can certainly answer questions on. But as Melissa stated, increasing costs, increasing demand for services have led us here today. So thank you.
Hello, Michael Searing. I'm Vice President of Housing and Shelter for Lutheran Metropolitan Ministry. And I also just wanted to share appreciation for balancing the strong safety net of shelter and, as previously discussed, the increasing need for affordable housing. So we're involved in both, and I think it's critical. Thank you.
So if Maria would like to share kind of like Elaine did, what did we have the ribbon cutting the other day for? That's always good news when we have more housing.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Council. We were happy to celebrate the county's support through the CARES Act funds of 3 of 5 units that were supported with about $740,000 in CARES Act funding, renovated units in the St. Clair Superior Development Corp. Neighborhood, which is near our main offices. And so 3 families will be housed in the next couple of months, working in partnership with Eden for their support as well. And within the next couple of months, we'll have 12 families housed of about 15 units that we have online right now. So we're on track by the end of next year to achieve our overall goal of 20 housing units for families coming out of homelessness.
And they have appliances in there, washer and dryer and everything. Really nice. So that's always good information. So just to let the people that are watching and listening, that even though it's a slow crawl, we are moving in the direction with all of our community partners, how we open up a host and variety of different housing avenues for everyone. So thank you both for coming down. Thank you for what you do. I think I said that and expressed that the other day at the event. You're truly a good partner, and we try to be the same on this end. So thank you. Director, is there anything else you'd like to share in regards to this contract? And any questions from my colleagues? Okay, we have 2 down there. Miller and then Sweeney.
I think Marty was first. Go ahead.
It's how I call it, Miller and Sweeney.
Okay. So, Madam Chair, to the director, does this represent additional costs that were not anticipated, or is this just a normal success or a continuation of the contract?
To Councilman Miller, I would say it's both. I would say over the last several years, there's been a great increase in costs, as I've noted, and LMM has been able to leverage other funding sources to meet the need of the dollar amount that's needed for the award without adjusting the contract to any extent. So I would say that it is both. It is a request looking forward at being able to secure that safety net with that ongoing funding.
So, will the costs from January 1st, 2023 through August 19th, plus the additional $1.575 million, will that bring us to a total that was more than what was budgeted for this year?
Yes, that is correct.
And by how much?
In this funding source with levy today, it's the amount on the amendment, I'm sorry.
Okay, so we did not budget for any of this 1.57 million, is that correct?
Not in the last year of our budget, that's correct.
Okay, fine, okay. So you mentioned that there's factors that are increasing homelessness this year. Can you describe what those pressures are? We'd hope that since COVID is somewhat receding and the economy looks pretty good, that it might be going in the right direction, but apparently it's not. So could you expand on that a little bit?
Sure. I'll speak a little bit to the families, and Mike, if you want to speak directly for 2100. So when we look at the increase in costs here, it's a variety of factors. It's looking at the increase in inflation in food, as well as the struggle that providers have had, LMM not unique, to hiring and retaining staff. So that largely contributes to this. We've also seen in the continuum over the last year, as I mentioned, an increase in families. We have an affordable housing crisis, as we all know. We're trying to move both individuals and families from unhoused to housed as quickly as possible. However, that is a challenge. And so we've had funding through April for other efforts to mitigate the overflow we were seeing in families coming into our system. That expired. LMM offered to step up and assist in being the fiscal conduit and coordinating a three-pronged effort that we'll have going forward. But when we look at the families, to answer your question directly, why are we seeing families? We've looked at some of the data coming through for those families, and they're coming largely, believe it or not, many are coming from out of state, which we've seen, but not as frequent as we're seeing now. And we're also, per usual, seeing them coming from other counties. So that's largely when we've looked at the families that sadly we've had to turn away while we've worked to put this new safety net in place for families. That's what we're seeing coming through our system.
And Madam Chair, Director, a final extraneous question to LMN, which is whether the legal issues regarding the drop-in center have been resolved.
Through the chair to Councilman Miller, those are still in the court right now. There was some briefs filed on behalf of LMM's appeal, so the judge is considering that appeal at this moment. There are two different appeals in this process.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, I don't know what the issue is.
I might have put it, I know it's never been openly expressed in the committee, but I thought I sent some emails in terms of the youth drop-in center that the county was, remember that we were trying to, over on Franklin, and, you know, I asked for us not to really get involved financially until we had clear consensus from the community. And so, of course, there was something that sent it to the Cleveland, it wasn't zoned right, or that's at least what the residents interpreted, that the building wasn't zoned correctly, so it went to the Cleveland Board of Zoning Appeals. We won, and so still some of the neighbors are not feeling that, so they appealed it, and so that's where it is. Does that kind of explain? Right. Does that kind of sum it
Through
up?
the chair to Ms. Stevens, no, there was not a final decision. There are two appeals as related to that issue currently in the common pleas courts.
Making decisions in light of the youth, hopefully drop-in center being in that neighborhood, I think there's other future conversations of other buildings being established in that same community, and so I just hope that the county is very aware of these issues, and that particular community, their voices need to be heard. So before we make any decisions, I've said that several times, they need to have their clear, so we would know how to navigate thereafter. Is that a? You're welcome. Councilman?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Dale and his extraneous questions. I'll try not to be too extraneous. Just to the director and the CEO, just remind me, this is more curiosity, the relationship with the city of Cleveland and the homeless shelter that the county owns. Because when I was over there, I knew there was some interaction. Is there any formal interaction with the city of Cleveland? Or a connection or partnership?
LMM 2100 Shelter is a recipient of dollars through the city of Cleveland for the shelter, and specifically to our office, the Office of Homeless Service partners with the city of Cleveland directly on the procurement process for their Emergency Solutions Grant and CDBG grant.
So they're a true partner and they play a role, and there's percentages there. I don't need that home.
Yes.
And there's probably a little bit more than significant, but not.
We are definitely the primary funding source for 2100 Lakeside.
Got it. And through the chair, just the other building, what's the status of that?
2020 Lakeside construction seems to be moving along pretty well. It's anticipated to be completed in October of this year. I'm saying it'll be completed in 2023 just because construction is hard, but it is underway.
And through the chair to the presenters, it was exciting when we validated to do it. And it's even more
Absolutely.
exciting now that it's coming to fruition. And these dollars are just the regular dollars. When that opens up, is that a whole new relationship with, or a continued relationship with a new venue with L&M? And they have to come back for more money to be able to do that? Or is all of that in the pipeline now?
I definitely think I know we're already starting to have those conversations. When 2020 Lakeside opens, we will, of course, have to reassess. There'll be additional facility costs that we can't currently budget for, utilities and maintenance. And there should be some increase in staff to LMM, but not to this amendment's extent. A lot of this should still go towards the regular operations that you're hopefully approving today and supporting.
Yeah, through the chair, that's what it's exciting. We're going to move towards housing the individuals in a way that they should be, and hopefully it's going to be irrelevant after a while. It'll be a new fancy building doing something else. But with the scheduled open date in October, hopefully, by the end of the year is December. We're off in August. We start the second week of September to get the funding up and operating. I don't want to have any challenges, and everybody should be applauded. Everybody's on time.
Yes, sir.
I think is there enough room in your portfolio of dollars to be able to manage through if we have to open up in October to be able to get through the process to get your money? Is there a flow?
Well, I have talked to Director Sirak in the budget meeting, so her and the Administrator Merriman
We all got
are
it.
discussing that. So we'll have it in time when we go through whether it opens in October or not. We already know that it's going to be an additional cost, so we need to know that in the budget.
Yeah, this is just me trying to think it through and without any disrespect to anybody.
Oh, no.
I don't want any hiccups. I want it to be open. I'll be a clapper that day.
Absolutely.
And then cook a year or two and get back to work.
We are definitely, Councilman, I am definitely taking those considerations into my budget process this year.
That wasn't even a challenge to you. I figured you did. It was just more curiosity.
Yep.
Thank you, Madam Director.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, seeing none. Any discussion? All right.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move this forward. Do we need this suspended?
Yes, please.
So moved.
Okay, move.
Second.
All right, moved by Stevens, seconded by Turner. All in favor, please say aye for moving it to the full council under second reading suspension.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, thank you. Just a little bit of miscellaneous business. Metro Health, our county hospital, invited primarily, but I don't want to say that women or men were excluded, but primarily they invited female elected officials, community partners, so on and so on, doctors, nurses, you name it, to have the first free multicultural health fair and Women's Expo, Saturday, September 30th. And it was a meeting for us all to be inclusive of how that's going to look. And so I thought it was really thrilling. My colleague Turner was there. And so they kind of asked all of us, well, how can we make this a success and get the ball moving? And so I did have a brief meeting today with Sabrina Roberts, who will reach out to David, and Sarah Nemestal, and we had a benefits person. So I thought, if we really want to boost attendance, how do we do that as a county entity? And since it's on a Saturday, how do we do that? Because it's not a work day. And so we were talking to HR to see if there's a possibility of giving some wellness benefit points for for county employees to participate. So, well, you know, the big wigs, David and them, are going to have to discuss that, but you know, it won't cost us anything. It's being a true community partner. So, if you guys have any thoughts, how we could be of assistance to Metro, please reach out to Michelle Pomerantz, who is connected with that, and that's all I had to share about that. All right. Yes, go right ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Just on the director's comments about Marcos Cortez, keep up the good work, man. I want to recognize you because he recognized you, and I want to go without saying that, so thank you.
He has a tough job, but you still pay them bills on time. Meeting